Just for a second, look at the phone in your hand, or, the device you're watching this on. Ever really stop and wonder, how did this thing actually get to me?
I mean, it seems so simple, doesn't it? Just a smartphone. But really, it's the finish line of this huge global dance of making things, moving things. And there's one industry that's the absolute linchpin holding that whole chain together.
So let's get into it. Today, we are breaking down what is, no exaggeration, the backbone of our entire economy: trucking. Welcome to our little explainer, Trucking 101.
All right, here's what we've got on tap. We're going to look at your stuff's secret journey, see why trucking is the economy's engine, and follow a shipment's life cycle. Then we'll meet the players and their rigs, dig into the business side of things, and finally talk about your place on the road.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, your stuff's secret journey. We're talking from the factory floor all the way to your front door.
This quote is so powerful because it's just so true. I mean, really think about it for a second. The coffee you had this morning, your clothes, the gas in your car, and yeah, that phone. A truck was involved every single time. Without him, our modern world would just stop completely. So that's the personal level. Now let's zoom out a bit for Section 2 and look at the huge, big picture. We're talking about the economy's moving engine and why trucking is, without a doubt, the backbone of all commerce.
See, trucking isn't just about, moving boxes from A to B. It's literally the circulatory system of our economy. It pumps raw materials into factories like blood cells. It stocks the shelves of every store you go into. It's the reason e-commerce even works. And think about it, when things get serious, during a crisis, it's trucks that are on the front lines moving the food, medicine, and fuel that we all depend on to survive.
And get this is a wild statistic. For most communities out there, there's no backup plan. No trains, no ships, it's all trucks. We're talking over 80%. That's 4 out of every 5 towns in the US that depend solely on trucks for everything. That's a mind-blowing level of reliance. And no, that's not being dramatic, it's just a fact. The flow of goods is the flow of money, and that flow happens on rubber tires. So if trucks stop moving, the economy stops moving. It really is that simple. All right, enough with the big picture stuff for a minute. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty in Section 3. We're going to follow a shipment's life cycle. And yep, we're sticking with our smartphone example to see exactly how this whole process works, step by step. Okay, so here's the journey. First, the product gets made, right? Imagine a whole pallet of new smartphones fresh off the line. Step 2, they need to go somewhere, let's say a retail store. So step 3, a trucking company gets hired to move that load. Then, for step 4, a driver gets the assignment, they pick up the cargo, and they hit the road. Could be a short hop or a cross-country trek. And finally, step 5, the delivery is made, it's confirmed, and boom, the trucking company gets paid. That's it. That's the 5-step loop that makes, everything happen. So who's actually involved in making that loop happen? And what kind of equipment are they using? Well, that brings us perfectly to Section 4, the players and rigs. Let's meet the people and the machines. First, you've got the shipper. Pretty straightforward, right? This is the business that needs stuff moved. So in our example, it's the company that made the phones, or maybe the big box store that needs to sell them. They're the ones with the cargo. So the shipper needs a truck. Who do they call? The carrier. Now, the carrier is the trucking company. This could be a giant company with a massive fleet, or it could be a single person who owns their own rig, what they call an owner-operator. And a lot of the time, playing matchmaker between these two is the freight broker. They're the crucial middleman. They know a shipper has a load, and they find a carrier with an empty truck heading in the right direction. They connect them, handle the details, and make the whole thing work smoothly. And of course, you can't just throw everything in the same kind of truck. Our smartphones, they travel in a dry van. That's just your standard enclosed box trailer, the most common one you see. But what about ice cream? That needs a refrigerated truck, or a reefer. Big steel beams? That's a job for an open flatbed. And fuel? Well, that's got to go in a tanker. It's all about having the right tool for the job. Now, what about the folks behind the wheel? Well, they've basically got 2 main paths to choose from. You can be a company driver. You work for a carrier, you get a regular paycheck, less risk. Or you can be an owner-operator. You're the boss. You own the truck, you run the business. The upside? Way higher income potential. The downside? You're on the hook for all the expenses and all the risk. It's that classic choice, security versus being your own boss. Okay, let's talk money.
Section 5, the business of trucking. This is where we follow the money, the miles, and the margins. At its heart, the business model is actually pretty simple. You've got revenue, that's the money you make for hauling a load. Then you've got expenses, and that's everything it costs you. Fuel, maintenance, insurance, you name it. And what's left in the middle? That's your profit. And that simple formula, profit equals revenue minus expenses, that's the whole game. The people who absolutely crush it in this industry are masters of that equation. They are laser focused on squeezing every last cent of revenue out of each mile while cutting every possible cost. That is how you win. But oh man, is it tough. The challenges just don't stop. Fuel costs? They can eat up a third or more of your revenue on a single load, and the price just jumps all over the place. A single blown tire? Forget it. That could wipe out your entire profit for the trip, just like that. And on top of it all, you're dealing with tons of regulations and the constant hunt for the next good load. It can be super profitable, for sure, but you have to be incredibly resilient. All right, so after all that, let's bring it home with our last section. What about you? Is there a place for you on the road? Could this be an opportunity for you? Because, look, even with all those challenges, the opportunity is huge. I mean, think about it. The demand is always there. Stuff always has to move, period. You can literally start with one truck and build an entire fleet. If you get good at the business side, the money you can make is serious. And for a lot of people, it's just about that, the independence, the freedom, being your own boss out on the open road.
So here's the bottom line. Our economy flat out stops without trucks. It is the engine that powers literally everything we do and everything we own. So the only real question is, are you ready to help it move?